Hello, it is 9 p.m. in Djibouti. It is time to English New Edition. We have for tonight headlines concerning Djibouti and Equatorial Guinea, arrivals of the President Teodoro Obiang. And at the international scene, the OPCW is rendered on the scene on the attack alleged chemical to Duma. Welcome to our newsroom. The President Teodoro Obiang Nguema is arrived at the beginning of afternoons in Djibouti for an official visit of 48 hours, 4 hours. Although it has its descent from the plane by the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, the President of Equatorial Guinea, Teodoro Obiang Nguema, is spent in a review as the hedges of honors erases in his favor. The Equatorial Guinean President Equatorial Guinea is a country of Central Africa consisting of the mainland regions of Rio Muni and 5 volcanic islands offshore. Malabo is the capital, located on the island of Bioko, displays a Spanish colonial architecture and represent a central point for the petroleum sector, prosperous in the country. The economy of Equatorial Guinea is currently characterized by strong oil productions of Equatorial Guinea. The oil productions of Equatorial Guinea, which places the country of the 3rd largest oil producers in sub-Saharan Africa.
S'il vous plaît. S'il vous plaît.
Monsieur le chargé d'affaires en Éthiopie,
Ambassadeur de la Palestine. De la Chine, pardon. Je m'excuse. La Turquie, l'Éthiopie, la Russie, le Yémen. Voilà les
Then the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, has hosted his colleague of Equatorial Guinea, Mr. Teodoro Obiang, in the lounges of honor at the airport, and the President has wished the welcomes in our land. The discussions were focused on the relationship between the two countries, the link between the two countries. The President Teodoro Obiang has thanked the Djiboutian government for their warm welcomes at Djibouti. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, has launched yesterday evening at the Gulede Stadium the official ceremony of the 11th Games of the Indian Ocean, accompanied by the First Lady, Ms. Khadra Mahmoud Haid. The President was welcomed of its arrival at the stage by the Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, the Secretary of State for Youth and Sport, Hassan Mohammed Kamil, the President of the Council of Ministers of the CGSO, and Madagascar Ministers of Sport. This event, initiated by the Secretary of State for Youth and Sport, has brought together 6 other countries to know Mauritius, Madagascar, Comoros, Mayotte, Réunion, Seychelles, without forgetting the host country of Djibouti. The atmospheres were festive for the openings of the 11 Games of the Indian Ocean. Djibouti, especially young people, came in mass to fulfill the official ceremony. This event for two essential purpose: to promote the sports in all its splendor and all disciplines combined in Africa and in the countries of the Indian Ocean. This evening opens therefore a series of events which will combine the sport competition and dances, highlighting the cultural specificities of each participating country. This event will gather nearly 1,500 young people from 7 countries, including Djibouti, organizing countries which participate in the forces with many teams in the 5 competitions. The launches of 11 games of the Indian Ocean will be a good opportunity for a greater visibility of the Republic to the populations of the Francophone country and the Indian Oceans, and intervene in the aftermath of the recognitions of Djibouti as the world capital of tourism and cultures in thousands by European Council of Tourism, who had released official certificate of the titles to the President of the Republic during the great ceremony at Palace of People. Given the importance of the event, the RTD has transmitted direct the officials' opinion of the 11th Games of the Commission, the Youth and Sports, the Indian Ocean, and a wide coverage will be present to the public to the different competition that will take place up to the end of the week. After the homes of the President and the First Ladies who have taken place, the official gallery this evening was packed by animations of the Djiboutians group, followed by a parade of teams of 7 countries of the Commission and for Youth and Sport of the Indian Ocean. They were boxed headers for their staff. The public of Djibouti has followed the parade with enthusiasm. The parade of young people between 14 years and 17 years who will face it during week in 5 competitions. It is of football, handball, bowling, athletics, tennis table. In the opportunity of these 11th Games, the Madagascar Ministers of Youth, also the chairman of the Committee of Ministers of the Ocean Indian has taken the floor. These games, he said, these games are intended to promote the friendship and brotherhood between young people, and he thanked the government of Djibouti, including the Secretary of State for Youth, to put in place all these necessary conditions for the success of the 11 Games of the Ocean Indian Constitution. For his part, the President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Margele, has welcomed all the team came in Djibouti to participate in the 11th Games of the Ocean Indian. It welcomed the cultural diversity, which is the symbol of the emerging use of the island of the Indian Ocean. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Mamagele, said the sports allow to bring closer the people by strengthening the stability and peace, to put especially to contribute to the development of youth. This evening the top in color, which will be for a tough series of cultural performances with including shows sung complemented having a musical background and multifaceted brief of meeting sublime spot will the spectators, the guests and officials who have had the chances to be on the side. It should be added that after the parade of each country following the openings of the ceremony, we should have the opportunity to enjoy the strong show the songs and shows the symbol of the games, symbol of this multicultural encounter involving some countries of Africa and the islands that Indian Ocean. Remember that this event that opens yesterday evening, it is the first to a week which will be rich in sports event and cultural. In effect, the young people of 14 and 17 years will participate in competitions of 5 disciplines. Is the football, volleyball, bowling, athletics and tennis table. After the official speeches places to the show as the musical group for and of the countries which Djibouti present a show culturals of musical very flow up which has been closed up by the national anthem and the games of the Indian Ocean.
Si tu veux, achète à paix si tu veux, ton pied l'incité, gagne à paix si tu veux, achète à paix si tu veux, un pied chinoisité, en même n'a pas besoin de goûter, en me faible en qualité, des beaux du coup la terre sans toute mon batacité.
Mettre la paillade sans fracas, la napina blabla, bouti bouti, les bouts danser, dans tous côtés, les bouts tourner.
Asumana letale, oh, Ritana riparana, aya, oh yeah, oh yeah, Atika, namje. Waili wapenza nao furaha ya tuisha.
Un guide mauvais ses mains ou les cœurs, un montre-moi direction quand il y en a vrai bonheur.
Sous vos applaudissements, s'il vous plaît. Merci.
After the opening ceremony held yesterday evening at the Guled Stadium, by the President of the Republic and the Ismail Margele, the places for the games handball opens the journey under the deputy returning officers of the coordination of the committee for the organizations of 11 games of the Ocean Indian, Mr. Said Ali Hussein, the Egyptian Federation of Handball, and a public initiates the teams of 7 countries gathered all the high schools gymnasium of the state of Djibouti have a first parade during that was reverted the endings of the games follow up to the first games, which has opposed Djibouti to Mauritius after a beginnings of a game that left at thrillers. The Djiboutian team finally won the match by an overwhelming victory of 35-13 to follow up a match girls who has opposed Madagascar to Mayotte. The handball players have offered to the public a very beautiful game. Despite the arrival of the President of the Ocean Indian Commission, the Ministers of Youth and Sport of Madagascar have not been able to reduce the gap of the goals and are gathered up views the victory by a score without appeal of 23-15. And we have congratulatory messages from the President of the Republic to its new Cuban counterpart. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Margele, has sent yesterday, Friday, a message of congratulations to his new Cuban counterpart, Mr. Miguel Diaz-Gamel, elected last Thursday at the Supreme Magistrates of his country. In his message, the President of the Republic has formed wishes of success and to Miguel Diaz-Gamel, our perfect knowledge on the folders in your country. You will be a valuable assistance in your important mission to lead the nation of Cuba friend toward more progress, development, prosperity and vitality, wrote the President Gele, the head of state, who has then seized the opportunity of this message to rejoice in the quality of the relations of the friendship and cooperation that exists between the Republic of Djibouti and the Republic of Cuba. Reiterate to the new Cuban president determinations as well as those of all of the government and the peoples of Djibouti to always work in favor of the strengthening of links already privileged between the two nations. Elected last Thursday at the Supreme Magistrates of Cuba for a presidential mandate of 5 years, Miguel Diaz-Gamel, 58 years old, is part of the figures of political scenes of Cuba. An engineer by training, he has already occupied the political functions to the first place in his country, including those very in view of the Ministers of Higher Education and the first Vice President of the Councils of Ministers. And in the framework of the strengthening of ruling talks at the levels of region, the Secretary General Dr. Salah Benetatura proceeded to the official presentations to the 2 new ambulances fully equipped and a vehicle of the mobile team, brand new for the account of the health regions of Ali Sabih. This official award ceremony took place in the presence of the President of the Regional Council, Mr. Umar Ahmed Wa'is, the Director of Health of the region, Mr. Ahmed Hafiz, and the Director of the Regional Hospital, Mr. Mohammed Suge Ainan. It has to be noted that this decentralization strategy, effective health is implemented by the Ministry of Health to ensure the progressive strengthening of health system and in local views of their empowerment in the medium of team. In this sense, adding to the automotive park has already resulted to new ambulances, and the vehicle of the mobile team will further enhance the capacity of interventions to broaders of coverage of care and to ensure of emergency relief on the whole extent of the region of Al Sabih. The Secretary General of the Department of Health has taken advantage of this opportunity to recall the broad guideline on the implementation of the health region to better decision in health of the inhabitants of the region. Dr. Salah Benoita furthermore urged that the local authority to take great care of these new vehicles of sanitary transport to ensure their perennizations. For his part, the President of the Regional Council, Umar Ahmed Wais, welcomed the effort provided by the Ministers of Health in the strengthening of and modernizations of the structures of local health, while congratulating the Minister of Health, Dr. Jama Elmi Ukiye, for its commitment in the improvement of our healthcare system. And in the framework of new campaigns of the anti-vectors, the ENSPD has just launched this last Thursday a wide spraying operation intra-housing, which begins in the District 6, where dozens brigades of mosquito control were on foot to work for inspections and spray door to door. In total, more than 50 neighborhoods will be therefore concerned by this door-to-door campaign to curb and to the proliferations of flies and mosquitoes that are vectors in the transmissions of malaria and other infections. In accordance with the timetables of passage, these press operations residential intra-door-to-door will contribute on 11 June 2018 by targeting area high marshes risks identifying in the municipality of Balaus and Balbala. A strategy intra-residential door-to-door is accompanied by activities of nocturnal spray, which will be ensured by dozens of vehicles of the ENSPD at the levels of the arteries and alleys of the neighborhood of this municipality in the capital. It should also be noted that the Minister of Health driver conducted this preventive campaign of magnitude in close collaboration with the prefectures of the towns of all of Djibouti, the municipality elected, but also with the supporters of Committee of Health and Hygiene at the neighborhood level. Finally, these important actions of prevention is carried out the ENSPD on the front of the anti-contribute vectors of provide appropriate solutions and appropriate in public health to reduce adverse impact on the health of product population. And we have in Tujura the organizations of the closing ceremony of trainings and delivery of certificate for young people, led by the General Directors of the ANFIP, Mr. Hussein Ismail Aden. The delegation was welcomed at Darafur by the Prefect of the region, Mr. Abdul Malik Muhammad Benoita. Therefore, before to visit the premises of the regional councils of the ceremony took place, also attended the ceremony Mr. Ahmed Ali Dimbir, Directors of Enhancement and Capacity of ANFIP, the project leaders of EDC, Mr. Stevens, as well as local authorities and civil societies of the region of Tujura. This training organized by the ANFIP in collaboration with the Agency of Education Development Center, EDC, on the over competencies of the employability and entrepreneurship aim to prepare the workforces of Djibouti, including the young job seekers in order to facilitate their access to the values market and labor market, and to respond to the need for the private sectors and the Djiboutian economy. Recall that since the beginning of these training programs, more than 600 young people have benefited from this training, which 18 young people in the region of Tojora. In his speech, the General Director of ANFIP recalled that the fight against unemployment is the priority of the government headed by our President, and in this context, training on the basic skills and entrepreneurship remains the preferred alternative from reversing the trend. This initiative will score the problems of unemployment, which is subjects of concern in the Republic of Djibouti, and has promises to young people. The ANFIP and partners will take all necessary steps to ensure that their insertions become effective in the next few days. And to close up this news, the international scene, the team from the organizations for the prohibition of chemical weapons traveled to the towns of Duma and collected the samples and other terms. Listen to this report.
International chemical weapon experts have finally inspected the site of suspected attack near Damakese, which caused an international crisis. The team from the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, OPCW, traveled to the town of Duma and collected samples and other items. Last week, Western states pumped several Syrian government sites in retaliation for the suspected attack on 7 April. Syria and Russia, which now control Duma, done with chemical arms, were used. More than 40 foreign people are said to have died on 7 April. The joint military response by the US, UK and France followed a war of words with Russia, Syria and its main military ally.
This is it for tonight's news. Thanks for watching us. Have a good evening.